Today on Nerd and Normal, technology has its own language and it can be confusing. It's now time to untangle the words and numbers to make sense.
Welcome to Nerd and Normal with Matthew and Gareth, opening your mind to the world of technology. So let's get started.
G'day, Andrew.
Hello, Steve.
Yeah, okay, you're trying to replicate the bloopers from last week, are you?
May as well.
It just goes to prove that my title that you've given me, Normal, is correct. I am normal. I make mistakes, unlike you, IT expert extraordinaire.
Oh, I wish that was the case. I'm not computer generated yet, but give me some more time.
Yeah, well, please, if you're going to computer generate yourself, make it less confusing than the language in technology. Look, I'd like to us to start today with USBs, because I have a variety of computer devices and watches, etc., all of which use cables to charge their batteries that don't seem to last very long. But I have now more USB cables than I have anything else. USB-A, USB-B, USB-C, USB Lightning, and the ones that I can't even remember. Now, I know with the rise of USB-C technology, the demand for comparable cables has really increased. However, not all USB-C, I think I got it right, cables are created equal. Not all men are created equal. While they may have the same connector, they have drastically different capabilities, etc., etc. Save me. What are they? Why are there so many? And what do they all do? And why do we need them all?
Let's take a step back in time. Go back into history. Years ago, there was no USB. Every device had to connect with different connectors. And there were two main ones. There was serial and there was parallel. Now, those connections weren't great for sending data quickly between devices, computers and other devices, which didn't exist back in those days. Their speed was ridiculously bad, and they were thick, chunky, great big plugs that no one ever liked to deal with, and they were not consistent. You had some manufacturers had round serial plugs, some had really wide parallel ports that had no pins. They had little things you had to nibble things together. Things were going crazy, and there was no consistency. Along came USB in the late 1990s, which allowed for a consistent connection that also allowed for data to be transferred and power. We'll come to this in a second, that's important. But it also allowed the computers to work out, even before, if they'd been turned on, they could then work out what was being plugged in. The old serial parallel way of doing things, if the device wasn't plugged in when the computer was turned on, it had no idea when that device was plugged in and turned on. So USB changed all that. Over the years, USB's changed though. It's got faster, it's allowed more power to go through, and now it's added more confusion, as you said, with USB-C, different cables doing different things.
Okay, let's just stay with USB-C just for a moment. I went into a store the other day because one of the cables split and I wasn't quite sure what I had. And the person behind the counter said, is it USB-C? He said, I think so. He said, oh, well, does it use Thunderbolt 3? Okay, I got lost straight away. USB-C, Thunderbolt 3. What does that mean?
So USB-C is the actual plug that's there. The end of the actual where everything plugs into it. Thunderbolt is not so much a standard, but it's a creation of different companies. Apple's involved with this as well, that allows for faster data and more power to go through the same connector as other things use for USB-C. So think of USB-C these days not as an actual connection for a full lot of devices. It's an option for them to use for a connector. You can have different things going through the same connector, but it comes down to what the wire between those two connectors does, and also what those devices want to talk about. So in the case of Thunderbolt, both devices have to be Thunderbolt compatible, and they can talk at a higher speed, have more power go through them. But because the way the wires work, both devices don't need to be Thunderbolt compatible, as long as they both understand how USB is supposed to work.
So when I think about buying the next generation of Apple, it uses a USB-C point to plug into the phone and plug into the wall. Is that just a standard USB-C, or has that got other things on it like Thunderbolt 3? Or how do I know?
That's a perfect question. So the new USB-C that's involved with nearly all the new iPhones, apart from the iPhone Pro Max, the big expensive one, they're all USB 2 connections using a USB-C connector. There's no Thunderbolt there at all. It's just pure USB 2, which is from back in the year 2000.
So if somebody buys the Apple Pro Max, the new one, the big one, they will be given a different USB lead than all the others. In other words, you wouldn't be able to use that lead on any other device. Is that correct?
No, it's the same lead, but it's the compatibility of that phone itself. That phone has the chips inside of it to talk at the highest speed. Not Thunderbolt speed, mind you, just USB 3 speeds. And this is where the confusion happens. There's too many things using this USB-C plug and not enough information about what the products are trying to use for their standards of communication.
Yeah, I know I'm normal and I know I'm a little bit slow, but a minute ago you said the new Apple, the big one, the big new Apple Pro Max, as distinct from all the others, uses the USB-C with the extra bit added to it, whereas that suggests to me a different cable or a different availability or a different use.
It allows for, because it's a USB-C connector running a USB 3 connection, it allows for more data to transfer quickly between the phone and the computer it's plugged into, and also allows for more power to go through that same cable.
Can I use that cable for my other devices that use a USB-C cable?
Yes, you can all if you get a USB, I'm going to throw numbers out here. If you get a USB-C USB 4 cable, it'll work perfectly fine with a device that's using USB 2. They're all backwards compatible. But a USB 2 cable cannot work at proper speed, proper power for a USB 4 device.
Now you've used the term USB 4. I think my son mentioned to me the other day, because I was complaining to him about the number of cables I had. He said, "Get ready for it, Dad. There is another cable coming, USB 4 or Wi-Fi USB 4. What is there, and what is it?"
So USB 4 is the latest version of USB. It allows for speeds up to 80 gigabits, which no one needs that sort of data transfer when you're trying to plug your phone in and get photos off your phone onto a computer. But theoretically, it allows you to transfer files off a phone so quickly that you're not going to notice there's any time gone between telling it to transfer and them actually arriving on there. Everything else remains the same. It still can use the similar sort of connections that are on the computer as on the phone. The only difference comes down to the cable allowing for this faster connection and also more power to go through.
Don't we have an additional problem, though, is that the device you're plugging this cable into is going to determine which USB cable to use. So we are never going to get away from the multiplicity of cables available for the different devices you're plugging them into.
And that's exactly the problem people have when they go to shops to buy a USB cable. They buy the cheapest ones, thinking that they're going to do the job. They don't. You need to make sure, if anything, you get the most expensive USB cables you can possibly do that will meet your requirements, because an expensive cable will work for a slower device, but a cheap cable won't give you full abilities or even full charging speed for the devices that need those better quality cables.
Understand.
So when you're buying cables, you should look for where it says USB 3 or USB 4 on the actual packaging. That way you're sure those cables will work for all your devices.
Yeah, the only problem, of course, is that over the years they've changed the sizing of the thing you plug into the device, and the device has changed its size as to what it allows you to plug it into. So we're going to continue to have, until we get rid of all the old devices, which are not going to happen tomorrow, there's always going to be that problem.
That's exactly right. You look at printers. Printers still have the old USB 2, USB B connectors, and those square USB things are still in every printer you buy these days. They're not using a USB-C connection there, so that requirement is not going to be here for quite some time.
All right, let's jump on a similar problem, Wi-Fi. You've led me to believe that Wi-Fi is not just one word and one thing. It's a multiplicity of things. What do you mean by that?
So there's been Wi-Fi since the CSIRO invented it back in last century. The first commercial Wi-Fi started becoming available in 1999. And that was what they called, back in those days, 802.11b.
Oh, gee, thanks. Yeah. Another word.
It gets worse, because following B, later on that year, they released 802.11a.
Of course they did. And they just made a blooper. They're confusing the public.
Exactly right. And that's what happens. All the way through, they've had no consistency with naming of this thing until recently. So you might go to the shops now and you'll see the new modems you can buy have Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 6 on them. That just means it has certain parts, certain abilities inside of it to do certain things. The higher the number, so Wi-Fi 4, for example, was released in the year 2009, that would not give you the sort of speed that you need for a Wi-Fi device, a laptop or a phone talking to the NBN, that most NBN connections can now have.
So does that mean where I live at the moment, I don't have access to the residence for the fibre, optic fibre? So if I asked my provider to give me that cable to the house, then I'm going to have to change the modem, and that will bring me more up to date with the new Wi-Fi. Is that correct?
Exactly right. And then you get a full advantage of the speed you'll get when you get changed to the fibre to the home NBN connection, because you'll have a Wi-Fi connection that can push that sort of speed through.
And what does that do to having Wi-Fi in the house, or items in the house that can access the Wi-Fi? Does it increase their productivity? Does it increase their proficiency?
Not really, because most of them don't use that sort of speed. Most of the time, when you're using the internet and Wi-Fi, you're doing things like searching on Google, you're doing checking of emails, you're sending small files backwards and forwards in emails or to different devices. It's only when you're doing things, downloading large files off the internet, like a Windows update, for example, or you're trying to stream multiple TVs with multiple streaming services at the same time. So you've got Disney Plus going in one room, Netflix in the other room, or you're listening to the radio on your Google smart speaker, all these things happening at once, then you see the benefit of it.
Wi-Fi 9 gives me better reception of those devices when we've got 4 different services being operated in the house simultaneously.
In theory, the higher your Wi-Fi number, the better off you'll be, the more heavily you use your internet connection. So Wi-Fi 7 is the current standard. Wi-Fi 8 should be coming out either next year or the year after, which there is not a single person on this earth, well, at least in this country, that requires that sort of speed, because that's over 20 gigabits of speed. Most NBN connections currently in use are less than 1 gigabit. So if you're doing this thing that allows for 23 times the speed of your NBN connection, it's only useful if you're going to be sending large files from your computer to another computer that you own. Otherwise, it serves no purpose.
Just like the cup that has my favourite novel on it, Great Expectations. It sounds like the Wi-Fi companies have great expectations and something miraculous is going to happen with everyone needing that many gigabytes.
Exactly right. I think it's down mostly to people that are working in environments, maybe workplaces, where they're creating video content and sharing it to multiple people at the same time. That makes sense. But in a home environment, Wi-Fi 6 is more than enough for most people.
Okay, all right. Well, I worry. Now, we've got USB up to 8 at the moment, you're saying?
Wi-Fi coming out soon, yes.
Wi-Fi is up to 8, but USB is only up to 4. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay, so if you go into a store, always ask for a USB cable 4 because it'll operate on, doesn't matter how old or new your device is. But Wi-Fi 8 is only with the modem, so you've got to replace the modem if you want to get a higher one.
Exactly right. And for most people, they're running with usually a Wi-Fi 5 or Wi-Fi 6 modem now. That's fine for most people.
Okay. You've mentioned businesses and you've mentioned in the house. A lot of companies are now what's an example? It doesn't matter an example. Are asking for Telstra, for example, 2-factor authentication. What is it? Why do I need it? And how do I get it?
So 2-factor authentication is, your first factor of authentication is your email address or your username and your password. That used to be enough. However, these days, because passwords and usernames are being compromised left, right and centre, for security reasons, most companies now want you to give them a second form of identification. So that can be a text message sent to your phone, or it can be a code that's given to you on your phone through another app, for example.
Okay, so let me interrupt. This for 2-factor identification, if I'm looking and it asks me for on my computer, I need this other device to get the second factor, in other words, a mobile phone or whatever.
Not always. And this is where the difficulty comes, because sometimes they say, I will send you a text message to your phone. Other times they say, check on this Authenticator app on your phone. Other times they say, no, forget that. We'll send you an email. So you're literally on your computer, typing in your username, typing in your password. Up comes an email. You've got to get from the email on your computer the code to put it in there as well.
No, it's happened to me on both devices. I access occasionally for tax reasons and other reasons my Gov website, which I continue to get emails from that are scams, and I let them know and they say, thank you for that, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes they ask for me, they'll say, I'll send you an email with a number or I'll send you the mobile with a number. And I've used both, or I've had both sent to me.
Yep, that's okay. So that's them verifying the fact that you are who you say you are, because they can say, we sent you this message at this time, the numbers correspond to what we're using, you're definitely in. It's one more way to keep you safe, but it's one more step you've got to go to as well. You've got to make sure that you have your phone with you at all times, and the phone's got to be working. If you were to buy a new phone and you're using, say, the Google Authenticator or the Microsoft Authenticator app or similar on your phone, if you haven't transferred that to the new phone you're using and you get rid of your old phone, you then can't authenticate who you are, because the numbers you're supposed to get won't appear. You've then got to find some way of getting yourself into your account to redo your second authentication.
Hang on. If I get a new phone, surely the number stays the same. The phone may be different, but the number's the same. So they're going to send an authentication number to my phone. It'll come to the new phone through my old number, surely.
Not all of them. Some of them use actual apps on the phone that are different. There's one called Google Authenticator and one's Microsoft Authenticator, where those are linked to the device, not your phone number. And so you end up, if you get a new phone, you've got to transfer everything across. And Well, we may have to do a session on just how you do that, because I would not have any idea how to do that on a new phone if a new phone required it. And that's the thing. And that's the problem I face a lot of time with my work, is people who don't realise they've got to do this. They go to the shops says, oh, look, trade your phone in and we'll give you a new phone at a discount. They do that without realising that what they've just done is they've given away their second factor authentication device to the shop, which is going to wipe their phone. They then can't prove who they are to their bank or to somebody else to get back into their account.
Let me ask you now a technical question, and don't charge me for the question. If I buy a new phone, like I have in the past, I'm able to put my brand new phone alongside my older phone, and it automatically transfers all the information from the old phone to the new phone. Is that going to transfer this authentication thing to it? No, it's not.
It's not going to do a single thing.
Yeah. Great. So the moral of the story is, Gareth, normal, don't buy a new phone.
No, it is. Buy the new phone, but be ready for a fair bit of work to actually transfer that. It takes quite some time to transfer the stuff across, but it means that you've got to take your time and do it carefully. Or get a professional to do it for you.
Let's make that one of our topics in the weeks to come. The other thing I want to ask about, often when I go into a store about a new phone and I say, how do I get all the information? Look, you've saved it in the cloud. Just download it from the cloud. Well, first I've got to find the cloud, and we've mentioned Thunderbolts before, so no lightning and no thunder. When I'm cloud storing or cloud computing or whatever, what does that mean? How do I do it? And how reliable is it?
So cloud is just a marketing term. It's all ever was. It was always Web 2.0, the cloud is here, blah, 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 celebrate. Cloud is just using the internet, using websites to store your data for you. That's all the cloud is. So if you go to somewhere like, for example, if you're using Apple, if you go iCloud.com, you can sign in there and you can see all of your contacts or your calendar or your photos that are stored on their website, and you can see it all quite clearly, quite easily. If you're with Google, you go to, say, for example, photos.google.com, shows you all the photos from an Android phone. Contacts.google.com shows you all the contacts from an Android phone. All they are just websites where your stuff is being stored.
Does that mean I don't have to back up my computer anymore? It's all on the cloud? Or
no,
do I still...
You should always back up your computer to a USB hard drive of some description. That way you have control of your backups.
Okay.
It's one of the things that happens. People think that the cloud is the be-all and end-all. It's going to be the saviour for all our problems because it will just work and we'll be fine and everything's going to be hunky-dory. It's not going to be the case. Multiple reasons. First up, you've got to pay for the cloud storage. It's not going to be free. In the case of Apple and Google, they both give you a certain amount of space, and on your devices, they turn on automatically to use their cloud storage straight away, to fill it up dramatically. That way they start saying to you, once you get to about 98%, hey, you're running out of space here. For $3 extra, you can have all the space you want for the rest of your life paying us, which I'm purely against. I don't like the idea of doing that at all. And they're all the same. Microsoft does it. They all do this thing now. For me, it comes down to you should not use a cloud storage unless you really, really have to. Plug your phone into your computer. Your computer can back up your phone. You can put all your photos on your computer, and it's free. It then means you're in control of your own data.
Well, that'll be determined by how much space you've got on your computer, though, won't it?
No, because you just buy USB hard drives. They're about $90. Buy a new USB hard drive, put more data on it. You should have always more than one copy of your data. So you have a copy of data on your phone, you put it on the computer, you also put on multiple USB hard drives. That way you have multiple copies of your stuff. If one hard drive dies, the computer dies, the phone gets run over by a truck tomorrow, all your stuff is safe on a USB hard drive.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so please, this is another topic that we should cover. And if you're listening to Matthew, you can see how knowledgeable he is. If you've got any topic related to what we're talking about, please send us a link and we will cover it for you. It is absolutely free. No mic USB-Cs involved, just an email or a text message. Okay, all right. Now, the other thing that isn't free is Netflix and Amazon and Disney and Apple TV, blah, 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 blah. People love watching free-to-air television like Channel 7 and Channel 10. But I was led to believe the other day that MPEG-4 on digital TV, on digital television 7 and 10 won't be available soon.
So, no, I better take a step back with this. So, when digital TV first started, they used the same technology as DVDs to put the TV signal through digital TVs. This was called MPEG-2. Now, unfortunately, the quality of that isn't that great, and also the size of the files it creates is too big. So, fast forward to now, most TV stations have moved to what they call MPEG-4 for their video signal, and it allows them to put more high-quality pictures through the airwaves, but also means that they can have more channels and they can do more things with it, and it looks better. But it means older TVs can't work properly. So most of the TV channels are doing both MPEG-2 and MPEG-4 videos for old TVs to work. But Channel 7 around the country has been slowly pulling away from MPEG-2 and just the MPEG-4 for their own channels, and Channel 10 is doing the same thing now. So you end up with some TVs, you turn them on and it has audio only, and it starts playing Channel 10 or Channel 7 TV channels, but just the audio, there's no picture, because the TVs can't understand this MPEG-4. So there's this need now to go and either buy new TVs or new set-top boxes that can understand this MPEG-2 and MPEG-4.
So surely every new TV monitor that comes through Sony or Samsung or whatever, all of the new ones, surely they will have MPEG-4 built into them, will they not?
They have for quite some time. It mostly affects TVs that are around about 10 years or older that don't have this ability. And unfortunately, people aren't buying TVs unless they really have to buy them and replace them. So if your TV's working fine, it could be a case of very soon, if it's too old, you're going to have audio only on all your TV channels.
I've been watching on television, free-to-air television, I've been watching a television show focusing on the FBI in the United States of America. And one of the phrases that keeps on coming up when they want to track somebody is when an email has been sent, or give me the IP number, get them through the IP number. What is the IP number and how do they do it?
So an IP number is like your address on the internet. So like you have your street address, everybody has one of those. Whenever you connect onto the internet, whether it's with your phone when you're walking around or it's going to be your home NBN connection, you have what they call an IP address. That is linked to you and also others around you with your provider. So the provider can be told who was at this address at this point of time doing this certain thing, and the police will ask them that. And the provider must provide them with the details for that customer.
They actually have the specific address?
Yes, they have the specific IP address, not the home address. The provider knows the home address, but the police know the IP address, and they can put those two things together. So what they can do is they can track you through that. And this is where these VPNs can be a bit tricky.
That's a virtual private network, is it?
It is. So this is where, rather than appear to be coming from your IP address, you can go through this tunnel through your computer onto the internet and appear to come from an IP address anywhere else in the world. Anywhere else in the world.
So, all right, I will be honest. I have to sign into a VP network when I do some work for a radio station somewhere in Australia. Are you saying that if I was in America and the FBI wanted to track this through the VPN, are you saying they would not be able to?
They would not. They'd see you're coming. So, say, for example, you wanted to be in America on holidays and still want to do the work for the radio station. You would connect through the internet connection that you're using in America, connect to the VPN that you've got to use for the radio station. As far as the radio station is concerned, and as far as the police would be concerned, you appear to be coming from the radio station, not from somewhere in America, because they can see your actions from the IP address there.
So surely then a detective agency would be able to say, all right, it's coming from a radio station. They go to the radio station and they're saying, who is using this particular VP address? Surely they can still track you.
They can. So whoever provides the VPN connection, which whether it's a radio station one or one of these commercial ones that people have, they keep a track of who's connecting at what time and what they're doing. Sometimes these logs of what's happening get deleted after 12 hours. Sometimes they're there for days, weeks, and months and years. And so, yes, police can get there and ask who was using the connection at that point in time, and they can go back and find out who was actually doing things. Is it foolproof to keep you safe? No, it's not. But if you're trying to hide from somebody for what you're doing, it can come in handy.
So the other thing that I hear a lot of is the black net, or whatever it's where people go on to where there are things that you shouldn't be seeing but can be seen. Is that trackable? Is that a real thing? And if so, I'm not asking you to tell me how to do it, but is there such a thing?
Yes, it's the dark net. We've looked at this a few weeks ago about this Tor browser I spoke fleetingly about.
Yeah.
It is, once again, it hides where you're coming from. You don't need a VPN for doing this at all. If you have this program, you're always appearing, because that system that it uses makes you appear like you're coming from anywhere in the world straight away. If you want to add a VPN onto it as well, you're doubling up on things to really hide where you're coming from, which is what criminals do. They do use a VPN, and they use this Tor browser to get around all the possible tracking that they can get around.
In terms of language, where we started, Matthew, we've talked about USBs, we've talked about Wi-Fi's, we've talked about VPNs, we've talked about the cloud, we've talked about IPs and VP. There are so many terms, the languages. I think Oxford Dictionary must be having a trouble every year when a new word comes along. Something we haven't talked about, I don't think, is things like RAM and CPUs. Is it important that we explain, or that you explain, what having random access memory or a RAM is, and why it should be big or small, and what the central processing unit or the CPU is, and why it should be fast or slow? You want to hit both of those and give us a summary?
Yeah, so just quickly, because everything with computers has its own language, as we know, and there's words, numbers, letters thrown everywhere, and you're supposed to know what they all mean straight away. So looking at the parts inside of a computer, you have a CPU, a GPU, you have RAM, you have SSD, you've got HDD, you've got Ethernet. There's this multitude of different things that get thrown around all over the place that are confusing. All it comes down to is you think about a CPU is the computer's brains. It's what does all the work. The RAM, or the RAM, is the memory the computer works inside of. So when you're thinking back to what you did last week, you're accessing your memory, which you'll forget. It's random. It happens. And you're putting that memory into your brain. Then you have the storage capacity, which is the SSD or the HDD, which is where all the stuff gets stored forever. And that's where you have your long-term memory. So you have your CPU, your brain's working on something. You have your short-term memory being the RAM, and you have your either HDD for the old spinning hard drive or the SSD for your long-term memory.
Where would we be without Matthew, the man who doesn't make mistakes and doesn't have bloopers? Be that as it may, I really genuinely hope that the Thunderbolt, not Thunderbolt 3, but the Thunderbolt has preceded the lightning or followed the lightning. Let's get it in the right context. There's a blooper for you. And the light has shone, and Matthew's been able to illuminate so clearly as he does every week here on Nerd and Normal. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Matthew. And what's our topic for next week? Something to do with paying money, isn't it?
I think it's to look at bills. And don't forget, if you want to find out what it is, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the show. That way you'll get it delivered to you straight away every week.
And I will finally say, since talking to Matthew on this session, I have really learned a lot. I still haven't bought a new computer. I still haven't bought a new phone, but at least I've learned something. And that is, don't buy them. Stick with the old.
See you next week, Gareth.
Bye, mate.
Thunderbird is another standard of communication through that connector and through the wires, and it allows for faster transfer of data and more power to be sent through the cable. So you have
Sorry.
to
Is it? He said Thunderbolt, and you've said Thunderbird. Which is it?
Thunderbolt. That's my stuff up from being all the computer stuff.
We have a blooper. We have a blooper. The blooper has landed. Sorry, go on. You were explaining.
There's too many thunders in this world, not enough lightning. So
Bolt on.